Hello everyone, my name is Julia Tucker and I have chosen to do my case study on the reinforcement task case study for organizational behavior. A little overview on what the PowerPoint will include. First will be the background information on this case. Next, the key issues and points. Next, I'll go with the case questions and then I will follow up with the responses. I will then go to the conclusion and then lastly finish off with the references that I have for this case. So a little background information on this case. Janet Jackson, she's the head of a volunteer agency in a very large city. She's also in charge of a volunteer staff of about over 20 people. She holds this meeting with the group in order to keep them informed on lots of things like new laws, changes in the state, the federal policies, procedures, assignments, certain priorities, and how this might affect their work. This meeting is also a time when the members can share some of the problems with and the concerns for what they personally are doing with the agency and also what the agency is doing as a whole. This meeting every week is typically scheduled at 9 a.m. This is where the problem starts to arise with the meeting time. But basically, Janet's trying to get everyone together. This is a super important time of the week where they can all meet and go over things. She can give out information, she can receive feedback, so it's very imperative that everyone gets these meetings and it starts right when it needs to, as there's a lot of information that needs to be discussed and lots of questions that might need to be asked. So the key issues and points for this case is the meeting is scheduled at 9 a.m., but people are arriving closer to 10. They're kind of showing up a little later. Throughout the weeks, Janet has noticed that people are just showing up later, so she's been holding off the meeting as she's waiting for everyone to show up. She's finding it also difficult to require people to be there at 9 a.m. sharp since they are all volunteers. Since they're volunteers, she can't require them to be there, but she wants to find a way to make the expectation of you should be there at 9 a.m. Janet noticed over the weeks that this is continuing to happen, and she knows that there's a lot of information that she needs to get out, and she wants to start the meeting at 9 a.m. so that they can all get their mornings going. You know, when they start at 10 a.m., by the time they finish, it might be the afternoon. So she wants to get in there, get it done quickly, and find a way to kind of work with everyone so that they can hopefully realize that everyone needs to show up right on time. So the two case questions for this case is first, what advice would you give Janet in terms of reinforcement theory? Explain what is happening here and what Janet needs to do to get the meeting started on time. And then the second question is, what learning theories, classical, operant, and or social learning, could be applied to Janet's efforts to teach her volunteers the impact of new laws and changes in state and federal policies and procedures? So, the first question, as I had just stated, is what advice would you give Janet in terms of reinforcement theory? Explain what is happening here and what Janet needs to do to get the meeting started on time. So I believe that Janet should start her meetings at 9 a.m. sharp, regardless of who is or who isn't there. She always needs to start her meetings at 9 a.m. sharp. It's not her fault people are showing up late. She scheduled a time for this meeting to take place, so I feel as if it is other people's priority to make it at that time. In terms of the reinforcement theory, Janet should reinforce those who get to the meetings on time by starting the meeting on time. Group members that did get to the meeting on time initially were punished when they had to wait for the other members. So by starting the meeting on time, this problem could be averted. Basically everyone that was showing up on time, they were being punished for the others showing up late. So reinforcing that 9 a.m. is when we're going to start this meeting. If you're not here, it's their fault. It's their fault. They're missing out on the information. They're missing out on the questions that are being asked. The people that were showing up on time initially were being punished and having to wait around for the others. So just switching it up, making sure you're starting straight at 9 a.m. and then also reiterating the importance of starting the meeting on time to all the volunteers. Hopefully with this, staying strict on her time schedule, this will help people to realize, oh, I do need to show up right at 9 a.m. They're not going to wait around anymore. And if they don't, that's their own fault, and they'll be punished in the way that they just missed out on all the information. Moving along to the second question, what learning theories and or classical operant social learning could be applied to Janet's efforts to teach her volunteers the impact of new laws and changes in state and federal policies and procedures? I believe that the two learning theories that Janet should really focus on are operant and social. I believe operant because you can be rewarded with incentives and have positive reinforcements. So when a behavior leads to a desirable consequence, it becomes more likely that the behavior will be repeated again in the future. So that being said, if they're rewarded or there's positive reinforcements in the operant learning theories, the volunteers will be more likely to want to learn and to want to be there on time for the meetings. She could reward volunteers with having like a volunteer staff member of the week, maybe have them run part of the meeting, just really reinforcing how important it is to learn these new laws. And I definitely feel like the operant theory would be great for that. So the next one, social, the learning can be taught through the observations. I think that this is another one that could be really beneficial when they're out volunteering or doing volunteer work. She could have people who've been in the volunteer community for a while kind of show them the ropes. She could bring them into the meetings, let them answer questions to any that the volunteers might have. Also, learning, like it said, learning can be taught through observation. So the people that are showing up late to the meetings and they see the people showing up on time, that's kind of a learned observation. They'll realize that, oh, I do need to be on time to the meeting. So learning through the social learning theory is another way that this could help. I feel like all around, just Janet herself showing how the new laws and changes in state and federal procedures, how they will impact the volunteers herself, could really help with the social learning theory. When people observe actions around them, they typically tend to imitate those behaviors. So that's why I say maybe Janet brings in volunteers that have a lot of experience for the meetings, maybe a new one every week, kind of showing them, even like possibly playing videos, having some kind of conference call in the meetings, just so that all the volunteers will know what's expected of them and are wanting to actually learn the material. So in conclusion, I definitely believe that there should be a strict start time. I think Janet really just needs to buckle down, start right at 9 a.m., no exceptions. If you're late, that's on you. I feel like people will begin to realize that they do need to start showing up on time, and hopefully that helps over the following weeks, that the meetings start right on time and that everyone's there, ready to learn, ready to come ask questions, ready to hear all the material that she has to give out. I do believe there should be some sort of positive reinforcement to the volunteers, especially the ones that have been showing up on time and the ones that are willing to learn. Like I said, maybe a volunteer of the week, maybe having them run part of the meeting, letting them ask people questions, kind of getting them more involved. Then also just having Janet using those learning theories. I feel like having people observe certain behaviors that she wants them to have will be very beneficial. So all over, I just think Janet needs to be a little stricter and then use those learning theories to her benefit. This is my reference for my case study. I appreciate all of you guys watching, and thank you so much.